India is a land of writers, lyricists, script makers, and poets right from the ancient times. We have historic records with factual details presented as tales. We have written records of movements of stars and other astronomical phenomena happening so far away from us. We have scientific treatises in the fields of medicine, geology, chemistry, mathematics, and more, where research and observation have encoded into shlokas.
Above all, we have the rich spiritual literature showing the path to discover God. During the ancient periods, knowledge was passed down through generations of Guru Sishya Parampara by oral traditions. The memory and retention power in the early years was so high that they didn't need written text. But over time, the retention declined and the need arose for recording the knowledge so as to not lose it. Palm leaf was the most common material used for writing purpose in India. Hindu temples served as central reserves of knowledge where the manuscripts were stored and referred to. The researchers and scholars traveled far, visiting the temples to refer these manuscripts on wide topics like philosophy, poetry, grammar, medicine, math, and more. Southeast Asian countries like Indonesia, Cambodia, Thailand, and the Philippines have large collections of old Indian manuscripts. Saraboji Maharaj II established the Saraswati Mahal Library at Tanjavur in Tamil Nadu, which till date preserves some of the oldest palm scripts.
Have you seen age-old writings etched on their walls and pillars of temples and monuments? These have survived many centuries. History, accounting, taxation, politics, traditions, practices, beliefs, law, and administration of the period are vividly described. The detailing is so thorough that there is no ambiguity or room for doubt. Later came the copper plates called Tamarapatram. Legal documents such as title deeds were etched on copper plates and sealed within the walls or foundation of a temple or hidden in stone reserves in fields for safekeeping. Majority of the information about the period from 600 CE to 1200 CE have come from copper plates.
Traditional Indian literature fall into two categories, Shruti and Smriti. The Sanskrit word Shruti means that which is heard. Vedas are referred to as Shruti because it is learnt through the oral tradition. Veda is categorized into four: Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Samaveda, and Atharva Veda. Of the four, Rig Veda is the earliest surviving literary work. The four Vedas are supported by the 6 Vedangas, which help us understand the Vedas better. The Vedangas are specializations like the study of sound and tones, grammar, rhythmic patterns that facilitate our understanding of the shlokas in the Vedas. Upavedas like Ayurveda, study of life sciences, Gandharva Veda, study of arts, Dhanurveda, study of warfare and archery, Arthashastra, study of administration and political science, all feature in the Vedas.
What is historical about the Vedas? For example, the Rig Veda has hymns requesting God to protect their fields, cattle, crops, and waterways. Hymns for warriors, priests, cattle rearers, farmers, hunters, barbers, artisans, etc. From this, we understand the types of professions that existed. Rig Veda also speaks of wars between the tribes and clans, mentioning the Purus and Bharatas are the two dominant ones. It speaks of women's participation in social gatherings and performed sacrifices along with their husbands. They even took part in chariot racing. The Rig Veda professes that women should choose their husbands and could remarry in case their husband died. The Sanskrit word Smriti means to remember. The great rishis or sages of Bharat have decoded their revelations and experiences into actionable pointers for us to understand the Vedas and put into practice their invaluable teachings. A Smriti can be looked as a manual for the Shruti.
The word Purana splits as Pura Api Nava, old yet new. The Puranas were centered on the life of an individual or a lineage, highlighting the key incidents from their lives, exemplifying the principles portrayed by the characters. Of the many Puranas, 18 were well known and elaborated upon. Some Puranic stories also encode astronomical happenings and scientific data into simple stories that can be understood and, most importantly, easily remembered. The word Itihasa, hyphenated as Iti Ha Asa, which means it thus happened. The two great epics of this land, Ramayana and Mahabharata, fall under this category. Various geographic, astronomical, and archaeological evidences corroborate the Ramayana and Mahabharata as historical events, though presented poetically. These two epics describe in great detail the social fabric of India from thousands of years ago.
Literature written by the sages, poets, scholars act as secondary evidences for historic happenings. In the state of silence, ancient Indian rishis discovered fascinating things and penned down their observations as samhitas, documented research, and siddhantas, scientific principles. For example, sage Yajnavalkya discovered that the distance between Earth and Sun is 108 suns, and similarly, distance between Earth and Moon is 108 Earths. Science today estimates the numbers to be 107.5 and 110.6 respectively. Have you heard of the Jataka tales and Panchatantra? Such interesting story collections were written to impart moral lessons and values practically useful in life. The Sangam literature penned by the Tamils connects geographic landscape, seasons, flora and fauna to the Agam poetry that is the large spectrum of human emotions.
The Dharma Shastras, which established social conduct and the justice system, were compiled by an array of thinkers. Chanakya's Arthashastra, written in the 4th century BCE, deals with management principles and statecraft that are valid even today. The famous Indian poet Kalidasa, who lived during the 5th and 6th century CE, wrote the Malavikagnimitram, based on some true events from the life of King Pushyamitra Sunga. Banabhatta's Harshacharita contains anecdotes from the life of King Harshavardhana. Kalhana, the Kashmiri Vidwan, wrote Rajatarangani in the 12th century CE, describing the history of Kashmir. He is applauded for his pragmatic approach to history by historians of all generations. Silappadigaram, a classic historical epic in Tamil, was written by Ilango Adigalar under the patronage of Cheran Chenguttavan. It gives detailed accounts of the Chera, Chora, and Pandya dynasties. It also emphasizes the key role of a noble woman in a family setting and society.
We are always curious to know who we are, where we came from, what role our ancestors played in making us what we are today. This eternal thirst in us to trace our roots can be quenched only by the wide and deep text of Indian literature. Let us become aware and stay rooted.